welcome to the Courageous Self-Care Podcast. I am your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we talk about self-care that goes beyond bubble baths, chocolate, and wine. It is the self-care where you take action, it's strategic, it can get uncomfortable, and that's why it requires courage. And what ends up happening is that it changes your life. We have a great show for you today. Before we get into it, you can go to ChristinaMarlette.com to get the daily self-care checklist. It's not just a checklist, it is a full teaching. So head on over there and get that for yourself. You will be very glad that you did. On today's show, we have our special guest, expert Victoria Steele. Victoria, welcome.
Thank you, Christina. How are you today?
Oh, I'm so excited to be with you. We are crossing countries. I'm in Canada. Victoria's in the United States. So this is an international show today.
Yes, it is. I like that.
Yeah. United Nations. Victoria, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am talking to you today from Tucson, Arizona, where I have lived most of my adult life, and it has been a long adult life. So I am not a spring chicken, but I have had so many things that just I make me feel like I am just so rich. Which is ironic because I grew up in poverty and I started out in a really abusive situation as a child, and that was my reality for a lot of years. And then I started my career, and I did 25 years as a radio and television news anchor. I love doing radio news, especially, which fits really well with the podcast thing. So I'm really cool with it. And then I switched careers again and became a licensed professional counselor, mostly specializing in people who had experienced trauma, as I had as a child. I learned a lot about that, and relationships and healthy relationships, and I love that. And then I took a weird turn, which makes perfect sense for me, but I got into politics. I started thinking, I need to make some changes. I need to help my community. I need to step up and do that. So I have been a state legislator. I'm currently running for the state senate in Arizona. And I love working with public policy. I love campaigning. I just think we need to bring more integrity to leadership, and we need to have more women in leadership. So that's what I'm all about.
Wow. We are so honored to have you here today, Victoria, with all of your amazing breadth of experience. So it sounds like you have a lot on the go. What is your favorite self-care practice?
Boy, my sense of humor. It's weird. It's just quirky and weird, and it comes out, and sometimes it's not appropriate. Usually I can tame it, but it's what's gotten me through some really hard times. You know, I've been playing with the idea of writing a book about how to survive and thrive after you've experienced a lot of trauma and a lot of abuse and, bad things. And it is the thing that's been holding me back is, how do you start out a book with horrible stories that nobody's going to want to read because they're ugly and they're painful, and I don't even want to tell them because they're really not pretty, that they're not fun, they're not entertaining. It's difficult. It's difficult. And how do I do that? And so one day it was like, of course, I use my sense of humor. I make jokes out of things. I make light of things. I help us to laugh at our own humanness. And so that's what's gotten me through. Because sometimes I just have to laugh at myself. It's like, oh my God, I am being so ridiculous here. Let's just do this and get it done. So that's how I get through. And that's my self-care. I remember to laugh at myself.
Yes, I love that. And it goes perfectly with one of the Courageous Self-Care Foundations, which is how to lighten up and have more fun.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
So you're
I'm going
right
to be
in
one of
there.
your biggest fans.
My kids and I have a saying that we've been uttering a lot these last few weeks, to say, "Oh, humans."
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
We certainly do weird things, don't
we
we?
do. Well, I'm very curious to hear what you are going to share with us for your story of courage today.
Wow, I have been back and forth and all around the bend thinking about this, Christina. You asked me to come in and share it. First of all, it makes this assumption that I am courageous just because I have courageous conversations. And then I started thinking, okay, well, maybe I am courageous. What is courage? What does it mean to live courageously? And so I've really thought a lot about that. And it has been a wonderful exercise for me to go down there that road and just figure out, all right, what's the basics of what I'm trying to say. And what I try to do as a speaker, as a coach, as a teacher, as a political leader, what I try to do is help people. And I haven't done this deliberately, but I think until we face our own monsters, until we face our own biggest fears, in working with people that were my clients when I was a counselor, I would, I would help them to turn around and face that monster, whether they were having nightmares or just fears that just froze them and had them stuck in some place. I would help them turn around and face that monster. And that helps one live courageously. But you don't just face the monster because you like facing monsters. You face the monsters because you need to get to that next step. And one of the scariest things that I ever did was about 2 years ago, I decided to run for Congress of the United States, which was a huge thing. I had never done anything. I mean, I'd been successful in running for state legislative races, but this was Congress. And I was immediately told, you're going to have to raise about $14 million.
Wow.
And I was like, 14 what? Huh? And they, and I said, don't worry, I can do this. And they said, yeah, maybe you don't understand really what this is about. And I had people tell me, people that I admired, people that I respected, and yes, that is in the past tense, because they did nothing. They were people that should have been on my side, and they did nothing to encourage me, and they did everything to discourage me, which I think a lot of us get. And then we take that in on top of our own messages of, I'm just not good enough, I can't do this, oh my gosh. So what I was doing by running for Congress, for God's sakes, was I was doing something that was terrifying. But I believed that I could do it. I knew that I had something that I could bring to the table that would make a difference. And further, I knew that if I didn't get on this path and do what I know that I can do, then I'm just taking up space in the world and I'm not doing what really matters. But it was scary. It was still really scary. And I had people that I respected and that I admired who were leaders locally, and they said, you can't do this. You can't raise that much money. You're not good at this. Don't even try. And somebody else said, when I responded with, I can do this, you throw up any other candidate and I will show you that I bring something unique to the table. I will show you that I bring something of value, and I will do this. And I was told that I was being strident. When I heard that word, I went home and immediately filed with the Federal Elections Commission to run for Congress. It was like, oh no, That's what I needed. I needed somebody to remind me of the abuse of my past, to say to myself, oh hell no, I am never going to be held back again from doing something that's important. And I will tell you that I worked really hard and I learned so much. I did not win the election. And that was hard. It was tough, really, really tough, because I wanted that very much and I worked really hard for it. A lot of people sacrificed to make it happen. And in the end, I didn't win. But here's what I learned. I loved it. And I loved that race, especially when I was being true to myself. And when I was true to myself, I could walk with integrity. I could walk with courage. I could be the bravest person on earth, even though I might have been quaking in my shoes. I was still able to stand up and be real.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably is courage.
Probably.
Yeah, it might be courage. Yeah, probably. But I have no regrets that I did it. I learned so much. I learned more about the big political picture, how the system works. I learned how to do campaigns better. I learned more about society, more about people, but mostly I learned more about myself. And what I learned is I'm good at this. I can do this. And, here's what I want to say, because so many people want to do something really big, like run for office. And I really encourage, especially women, because worldwide, we do not have enough women in positions of leadership. And in fact, the numbers are actually shrinking, which just breaks my heart. But here's what I want to tell people about courage. Losing a race does not make you a loser. And being victimized doesn't make you a victim. So if bad things happen to you, it does not have to define who you are. You get to define, and only you get to define who you are and how you handle what life throws at you. And sometimes life can be really, really tough. To me, that's not so much the story of my courage, but the story of other people not believing in me and having to really hold on to what I believe in me and know, okay, they are wrong. They are people that I admired. They are people that I held in great high esteem. But I did not hold them higher than my own opinion about myself. That was a huge life lesson for me, because normally I would have gone, well, maybe, all right. Maybe those voices in my head that are telling me that I can't do this, or, I shouldn't try, or it's, I've never done it before. Maybe they're right. And those voices were wrong, and those people were wrong. And I feel pretty darn good about myself with that. So yeah, there you go. That's my courageous story.
Well, thank you for sharing that. There, I heard so much power and conviction. And I love how you started off with, I don't know if I am courageous. And that's one of the ideals that I would love to get across to people. Everyone actually is very courageous, but we don't give ourselves enough credit. And as you went through your story, you did share, yes, absolutely, I'm courageous. I guess that's what it is when we look back. It might not be when we're moving through it, but we can look back and say, oh, yeah, I did do that. And what I was getting goosebumps, because another one of the foundations of courageous self-care is self-acknowledgement and celebrating who you are and celebrating your gifts. And I heard that at so many different points during your story, that you need to trust in you and your innate gifts and talents, and learning that you loved it and that you were good at it is such a great message. Because imagine if our world was everyone knew their gifts and talents and openly shared about them, and people didn't get intimidated by each other's gifts. They went, oh, these are mine, those are yours, what can we co-create? Wouldn't that be amazing? And so I loved your conviction in yourself and saying that I focus on my opinion and the truth in myself versus other people's. That's like bells ringing.
I was like, why did it take me so long to learn that lesson? That was a really good one. And I should have learned it earlier, but I didn't. So I guess it was time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, our time is flying by. So we'll pause here for a moment before I ask you one final question. And if you who are listening or watching are interested in being a guest expert and sharing your story of courage or aligning with one of the Courageous Self-Care Foundations, you can go to ChristinaMarlette.com and to do the application to become a speaker on the show. I would love to hear your story as well. So Victoria, we're going to end on a question. If everyone did blank, the world would be a better place. What would that blank be for you?
If everyone listened from their heart,
Mm.
they listened from their heart, not from their heads, not from their opinions, not from their assumptions, not from their biases. And so often we don't know that, we don't realize it at the time, but we might not be living from our hearts. It's really important that we listen to other people with our hearts open.
I love it. Love it. Now, if people want to learn more about you, where can we send them?
You can go to my website, which is www.victoria-steele, Steele has an E on the end, .com. So victoria-steele.com.
Beautiful. I'm sure there's lots of very interesting information there. You are an amazing person. I feel so honored to have been able to share this time with you, Victoria. Thank you so much for being here.
Christina, I am so excited to be a guest on your new show and to be part of watching this miraculous growth and like a plant coming up out of the ground, and then it's like, ooh, and it's a miracle, and it's beautiful, and it's precious, and I am so honored to be part of the excitement of this for you.
Thank you. So I am Christina Marlette. We are here on the Courageous Self-Care podcast every Monday through Friday. Be sure you come back to hear more about courage and the foundations, because they are truly transformational. Thank you so much for listening. Reminder, you can go to get your Courageous Self-Care Daily Checklist at ChristinaMarlette.com, and that's MARLETT. And yeah, thanks for listening. I look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.